Here's how this goes. A gentleman by the name of Doug Vandevender, he reached out to me. I think he watched my Mitchell video and said, hey, I got a great story for you here in Oolitic, Indiana. And I said, okay, well, so he has helped connect me, and I'm very grateful. Thanks for watching the video. Thanks for the connection. Connected me with a motorsports legend, Karl Kinser, the home shop of that's probably him right there, rolling in. This is just, I tell you, I'm excited, beyond excitement, and maybe even a lot intimidated. You all right? No? No? Okay. Me neither. That should work out good. Mark's been here all morning helping you clean up.
About 3 days, really.
I was going to say, just the morning, looking at the collection here, it looks like a lot of time. Yeah. And that must be your beautiful log home up there.
Yeah. Me and the wife built that in 1975 and 6. And, well, the wife and two high school boys that had just graduated, and Randolph and Stevie Carter, and I hired them to help me build it. We built that thing with no backhoe, all scaffolding and ropes. Everybody on the lake said, what in the world are you building?
Sounds like the way the Amish do it. Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. That's really. It is really an honor to speak with you, Karl. Having known about you all my life, I've been in the racing world all my life, so I'm well aware of the name Kinser. I think most people are in motorsports. And there's one thing I wanted to put out there right away. Just get it right out there. We are looking at now. And Mark, your son, brought this to my attention. Then I started researching the numbers. We're looking at the winningest race car owner / innovator / chief mechanic in professional motorsports history. And just stay with me a while, because I'm talking about the 600-ish wins you had with Steve Kinser, and the hundreds and hundreds you had with Dick Gaines, the well more than 12 championships with the World of Outlaws, well more than 12 Knoxville national titles, the little 500 victories, and the wins at Salem, the wins in USAC All-Star, the wins everywhere. And even comparatively speaking, in NASCAR, All-Star, IndyCar, any kind of car, you're the winningest car owner, not only in this country, but in the world. It's almost hard to process. It's incredible. Does it seem incredible to you?
Well, once I've reached the age I am, I don't know how I've done it. Well, I know I work, 7 days a week, 14, 15 hours every day. And even in the winter and all that, it was just a lot of devotion and time, and I guess you just got to do what you want to do. All my buddies, when I was 8, 9, 10 years old, we lived out in the country, and the boys that were 16, 17, 18 years old back then, everybody kind of worked. Very few graduated from high school because of the hardship element. And I'd go help them work on their old cars and the old sawmills, buzz rigs, or whatever, just something that took a wrench and kind of, always fascinated me. And so just stayed, I guess stupidity made me stay with it.
That wouldn't be the word I would choose. But by the way, while I'm thinking about it, you mentioned school. I read somewhere, did you really go to a one-room schoolhouse in grade school?
Yes.
That is fascinating to me, because I'm a history geek, and that's...
The school is on that we went to, me and my two brothers, is on the National Registry of Historical Sites.
Hold on a minute. It's still standing?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna go get a picture of it. Where is it?
It's out southeast of Bloomington, the old Handy Ridge, Snotty Ridge School, and we have pictures of the classes and stuff that were there. Viola Chestnut was a school teacher. And
what a great name for a teacher.
It was. And, well,
you remember her?
Oh, yes, I do. You done what Viola said with no question.
I love it.
Every morning you go in and you done the I pledge allegiance to the flag. And then you done your reading, writing, and arithmetic, and you didn't advance until you got it.
That is so cool. I really do want to. I'll take some time and get up there and get a picture of that building. So when Karl Kinser told me he went to a one-room schoolhouse when he was a little bitty boy, I had to go find it. Took me forever to find this place, and there it is. It's been sided over, of course. In fact, someone lives in it now and operates a little bed and breakfast. But one-room schoolhouses really help tell the story of America. I've always been fascinated with them from the beginning of time. One-room schoolhouses that date back to the 17 and 1800s. Abraham Lincoln, when he was fortunate enough to go to school, he only had like 12 months, if that, of formal education. He was completely self-taught outside of that. But he went to one-room schoolhouses. They were called, back in the day, in the early and mid-1800s, they were called blab schools. And that's because all the lessons, the reading, the writing, the arithmetic, they were all recited out loud. Back in the frontier days, in the early days of America, there just wasn't enough money to go out and buy books and pencils and writing utensils and pamphlets and notebooks and paper. It just wasn't there. So they recited their lessons out loud. But this is where Karl Kinser went to grade school, in this one-room building. I thought that was fascinating. Karl Kinser, as brilliant as he is, the mind he has, I'll bet you he learned more in that one-room schoolhouse than just about anywhere else. He remembers his teacher very well, Viola Chestnut. Wish I had a picture of her. What a name for a teacher. But it was right here that helped educate the brilliant mind of the winningest car owner in racing and motorsports history. I don't know about you, but this to me is fascinating. How on earth did you become the occupants of the little snotty school? I mean, how that, you guys, this is your home. How did that happen for you?
Well, a friend of mine from California decided to move here and asked me to find a house for him, so I did. And then he decided to move away. I ended up becoming the caretaker, and Gary as well, and we got our little business project here.
Which is like a bed and breakfast?
Kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Airbnb.
Yeah. That's interesting. Snotty School, 1924 to 1949. What else did Karl Kinser do from this little one-room schoolhouse? He would walk to Bloomington Speedway, about 5 or 6 miles away, where he saw his first ever auto race. And the rest truly is history. You know, I was looking over some of your stats, and I never heard the name, but I'm reading about him now. In the beginning, in fact, I think I read that you won your first ever race with him when you were just starting out, maybe mid-60s, somewhere in there. A guy by the name of Larry Miller you were winning races with. Is that where it started?
Here in town.
Is he still alive?
Nope, he passed away about 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh, really? So he lived a long time?
Yeah, he run our car when me and my two brothers were, per se, car owners. We done it as a hobby, and Larry and my other Larry, my brother, and Larry Miller had the same name. They both worked at a quarries up in Bloomington in the blacksmith shop. Okay, Larry had driven, I guess you call them the old street stock way back when. Just take an old car, put you some roll cage in it, and go play around.
Yeah.
He drove those and successful in running those. And then once we bought, we drag raced, and so we blew the engine in our drag race car. So we went to Mitchell and bought a car from Diz Wilson.
So you remember Diz Wilson?
Oh yeah, old Diz. He was a dandy.
Was he one of your mentors? Did you have a mentor
Well,
growing up?
not in a mechanics field, I don't
Okay.
guess.
I think you set the bar for mentors in the chief mechanic role.
Well, when you first start, you know, everybody's even me and my two brothers, we knew nothing about it. So we'd go ask this one, that one, and it wasn't about a month or so asking what to do or what's wrong. Well, everybody you talk to give you a different answer, their opinion, like politics now, I guess. So we'd come back to the shop and work all week and try what they said. It didn't help. So finally I said, well, let's just forget what they're telling us. Let's do what we think. And that works a lot better.
Was it, well, was Larry Miller a good racer?
Oh yeah, he won. Larry won every race in Evansville at Hobstadt in 2 years, all except one. Won, I think, all the championships there for about 4 or 5 years. Won Paragon. Paragon and Evansville, you couldn't hardly beat Larry Miller. I mean, he just had a knack for those two tracks. Larry won Salem and won Dayton, Ohio on the high bank up there, and just race car drivers. Larry had 4 kids, 4 children, and after, I guess, been fooling around on these old dirt tracks and stuff for a number of 15 years or something. Just kind of, I've guess had my fun.
Yeah.
What I wanted to do, and he just kind of retired.
Well, one of the points I was getting at is if you look down through your history, it doesn't matter who sat in your race cars. They were right away and or eventually winners. I mean, you're not competing anymore. How did you do it? I mean, is there a trade secret you would share? Did you just outwork them?
Well, probably the first outwork I'd say I did. We went to the racetrack. I was started mechanicing up here in Oolitic in 1960, I think. Bought that old shop off of Irvin Parker. So I bought that, got a loan through the bank, fortunate enough to buy the old building, and worked blah, 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 blah. And my family didn't have any money, but me and my 2 brothers, we went to the races, liked the races. Our close relative or 2, Bob Kinser and Sheldon Kinser,
right?
We would go and watch them run, didn't even have a car.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing led to another one, and then once we got our old dirt track car, it was helter skelter.
The rest is certainly history for sure. So beyond the Larry Miller era, eventually Dick Gaines got in the chair. Now, I don't want to unfairly compare Dick Gaines to Steve Kinser, but in fact, because Dick Gaines, in your car won everything around here across the state, and I mean just about everywhere. I know he was phenomenal. He got hurt up in Champaign, Illinois in '77, so he didn't. World of Outlaws didn't come till '78, so he didn't get the opportunity to really go national like Steve Kinser would. But how did they stack up against each other as race car drivers? Was one better here or there, or how would you compare the two?
Well, my comparison, if Steve was in my car, he could outrun Dick. If Dick's in my car, he could outrun Steve.
Okay, now that's the best explanation I could hope for.
Because whenever we went to the racetrack, like I say, we done our homework every week, had the race car ready, best we could have it, and always tried to, get everything on it to where we finished the races. And we won races where actually we shouldn't have, because we lasted longer than the rest of them, I guess. If you don't finish, you don't win.
Sure.
And
would you say Dick Gaines was on the talent level of a Steve Kinser? I mean, Steve Kinser is pretty awesome.
Well, that's a hard question.
I know it is. Might even be unfair.
No, it's not. No, it's not. They both are exceptionally talented. A little story for Steve, whenever he was a teenager, him and his brother Randy, they had a go-kart. Well, Steve never was the guy to come in here and work 8 hours. If he did, he'd screw up more than he fixed. As any race car driver, I think. So, they're racing a go-kart race. Terry Cummings got the engine shop in town yet today. Steve and Randy were there in their old cart, the wheels are wobbling and smoking and whatever. Terry Cummings got the engine shop over here. And Cecil Beavers, which was a highly talented driver.
I remember that name.
And Jess Kinder, all the kind of ex-race car drivers had these go-karts. Now this is 30 years ago, 35. Okay. Now when I'm talking go-kart, there was no cheap go-karts there. I mean, these guys had everything and could drive. Okay. Terry Cummings told me the track. But anyway, Terry said, I'm out there running, I'm leading a feature, and he said, everything, I'm feeling good, the cart's running good, and everything's going good. And he said, I'm sitting here thinking, well, there's no way they're going to beat me today. You know, this is my day. Well, he said, in
I can see what's coming.
4 or 5 laps later, he said, there comes Steve Kinser on the outside of me, past me. When the race was over, I couldn't even see him. And he said the thing was smoking, the wheels are wobbling, and all this. And he says, if that don't tell you how good he was when he was a teenager, he said, I don't know what to say.
Sort of one more note on Dick Gaines. I didn't know the man, but, you know, I look at pictures of him. He had this big, gruff $1 million smile.
Yeah.
On the other side of that, I look at him and I see a man that I wouldn't want pissed off at me. You knew him as well as anyone. Were you guys, I mean, did you bump heads? You put up with one another because you were both the best at what you did? Was he hard to get along with? What was he like?
Dick, when you went to the racetrack, it didn't matter, you know, if the car had a little something wrong, it didn't really bother him. He never raised hell about what, you been laying around all week, you know, how come, why we here if this thing ain't gonna run, you know, or none of that. For instance, we go to Winchester, and I had the old Roadster that Wheeler and Fouch had. Diaz run it into 500 a couple times, and they had parked the old car.
And you turned it into a sprint car?
Yeah.
Sprint car Roadster?
Yeah, Roadster.
Yeah.
So we go to Winchester, and Dick Gaines, you had to know him. You always come in a little late for whatever reason. Well, he drove a truck for
now I want to know why he was late all the time. That's all right.
And so we're there waiting kind of, and he doesn't run one hot lap session. And this is when it was an IMCA race, and all the boys were there, the Good and Blundy and all of them. So Dick, here he comes, walks around the car and looks her all over, and he said, well, about everybody I talk to tell me about all this thing wants to do is spin out. And I said, well, I'm not a race car driver. I can't tell you nothing about that. So anyway, I said, well, you know, if you think it's not what you want to do, well, that's fine. We can watch the race. So he said, I'll hot lap it. And I had a 427 engine in it. I mean, had them out cubed by 100 cubic inch. So he gets in that thing and goes out there and hot laps it. And I thought sure he's going to crash going into 3. He was running 15 mile an hour faster than he should have been. He makes it around 3 and 4 and goes around and pulls in, and he had an old Dick. He had an old hanky, and he was blowing the wiping tears out of his eyes and all this and all that. And he said, this is not a supercar. Said, this is a super duper car. And I said, well, okay. And he said, I'll tell you the damn truth. He said, I thought I was going to die because I knew I was going too fast to make that corner. And he said, I said, oh, Lord, just let me make it. And he did. And all the good guys are there. And when the race was over, old Dick polished them all off in that old Roadster.
Wow.
And Duke Cook selling tires.
I remember.
In his own mind.
Yeah.
Good guy.
Out of
So
Sydney,
anyway,
Ohio.
He walks down there and he said, I can tell you one thing. He said, I seen it and still don't believe it.
So, yeah, so the point being, Dick Gaines was a really good race car
He
driver.
was highly, he could just about anything. And,
Was he hard to get along with?
Oh, no, no.
You got along with him well?
yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And just like most of race car accidents shouldn't have happened, but they do.
Was that in your car?
Yeah.
Up in Champaign?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't Dick's fault at all, and whatever, but you're the victim of the
Yeah.
circumstances.
Yeah, of course. Get a load of that. Kinser Pike just outside of Bloomington. Are they talking Steve Kinser or Karl Kinser? That's a good question. I'm thinking the whole damn clan.